Welcome to the UK Thrashers radio show, home of Mosh in the Roof On. This week all our bands are from London, so let's start things off with Detoxen. This is Thrash Till Death.
Thrash
Lock up your pet rabbits, dust off your best fur fabric, make sure you haven't got a mascot called Furry Frank, and listen to Thrasherwolf. This is Blood Moon. Okay, next up, we catch up with the band who played on Mosh in the Roof on Volume 1. Their album, 11th Plague, basically started the pandemic. This is North London's Sawticide.
Yes, UK Thrashers, this is Chris from Trapped in Purgatory, and you're listening to the UK Thrashers radio show. Get in the pit!
Okay, this week in the studio, we're joined by London Thrashers Sawticide. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey. Thanks for having us.
Do you want to introduce yourselves and the kind of what do you do in the band and the missing members?
I'm Ekin. I play guitar and I shout.
Yeah, I'm Chris. I also play guitar and attempted backup shouts when deemed necessary. We got Mario, the bass player, and stringed folk instrument player, and whatever else instruments he's got in his bedroom, whatever. And George, drummer. We finally found one. Yeah, no laptop on stage.
So how long are you guys kind of obviously you finally slotted a drummer into the set, but how long have you guys been together? How long have you been kind of at least kind of doing the Sawticide thing?
Sort of been in various forms since 2017.
Oh God.
I'd say in this current sort of lineup, probably 2018.
No, I think 2019, because with the whole recording process, we didn't have a drummer for the recording, so I had to kind of just do it. And then we kind of realized, oh, there's George, and his band's just his band hadn't broken up, but we were like, oh, he plays drums. We'll take him. Thank you very much. And yeah, so maybe not 2018. I think probably mid 2019, and then
something around there.
Yeah.
So I kind of introduced you as Thrashers there, but I guess you're kind of death thrash with some other things thrown in there.
Sprinkled in.
Yeah, there's quite a few things going on, definitely.
Yeah, do I describe those people who haven't kind of heard, even though the album's been out for ages now, so why the fuck haven't you heard it? But describe your sound for those who haven't kind of heard you before.
It's kind of, I like to think of it as one part thrash and then just kind of your base standard Slayer, Exodus, blah, 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 whatever, with just whatever proggy influences, bits sprinkled in anywhere. And I don't really know how to explain it. It's basically just whatever we're listening to at the time, be it weird modern prog, 70s prog, you know. I've been going down a rap rabbit hole now, and whatever commercial music or whatever, whatever we hear, somehow it translates. So we've got the whole Middle Eastern folky thing on the one track and proggy bits on another. We've got tracks that weren't even written for this project and written for other ones, and we just pinched them and like, we're using that. See ya.
So that kind of, you know, that Middle Eastern kind of, I use the word ethnic, but it sounds like I'm at fucking Glastonbury on the fucking peace fucking thing. But you know what I mean? That kind of that sort of thread goes through, and you know, it's very noticeable on one song, but there's some interesting,
definitely.
You know, there's some interesting guitar tones and some, you know, is that a heritage thing? Have you know, some of you guys coming from that? Have you got that in your heritage, or is it just kind of interest?
So me, Chris, and Mario are all from Cyprus. Some of us from the north, some of us from the south. So there's definitely that. You know, me and Mario are really into the Middle Eastern traditional music. So we sort of didn't want to make it too much of a prominent thing when we were sort of discussing what we were going to do, but it's sort of become a bit of a part of the sound, I guess. You know, it sort of seeps its way into the riffs here and there.
Well, it's just if we're listening to it now and constantly, then, you know, if you get down and you pick up your guitar and you play something, it's gonna find its way in there, whether you kind of like it or not.
it's not done in a cheesy way though, you know. I mean, it's not like you've kind of you've home hacked an electric sitar and you're kind of doing through a distortion pedal and playing like Slayer riffs through it. It's just kind of you get that atmosphere.
Try to do it as tastefully as possible. Sort of just
it can be done.
And there.
It can be done, and there are bands that do it. Nile, Melakesh, and other those other kind of Eastern bands that do that whole thing. Whether or not we go down that route and make it more prominent in other tracks down the line, who's to tell?
Have to wait and see.
But yeah, no, that's
depends what you can steal from other people. Yeah.
That's it, really. Just nicking bits and playing them wrong and, making your own thing. It evolves from there, really.
So what are those influences? You sat there in a Demolition Hammer T-shirt with pictures of Chuck on the wall, and you're sat there in your Swedish brothel with a Death sweatshirt on. So what is the kind of influences across all the band, really?
Well, I'll say for the recording of the first kind of little EP we did, it was more that kind of typical, not typical, but the more surface level thrash, your Exodus, your Slayer, your those kinds of things. But as you go further and further down the rabbit hole now, I mean, for me, what I've been listening to a lot of Heathen, Victims of Deception, the new one. My CD copy of Oppressing the Masses came through, so I've been cranking that out. Demolition Hammer, obviously, Dark Angel, the greatest thrash band of all time. Debatable, but we'll save that for later. For me, Incubus as well, a lot of that old school death thrash, Incubus, Epidemic, and then, Swedish death, Entombed. I've ordered a new Entombed hoodie, and I can't wait for that to come. Brutal Death, old 90s New York, Brutal Death, Internal Bleeding, Mold Decay. I think they're New York. I don't know, but that's the kind of stuff I'm listening to right now. So whether or not our new music takes that kind of form, it's who's to say. I write riffs. I try and make them sound angry, but that's where I stand right now.
What about you, Aiken?
Oh, pretty much the same, man. A lot of Morbid Angel, a lot of Cannibal, a lot of Nile, a lot of the sort of old school death metal stuff. But yeah, majority the same as Chris, to be honest.
And what was the gateway? What was kind of your entry level bands when you kind of realised that you weren't going to be listening to the Cheeky Girls or fucking what chart music or whatever? What grabbed you and pulled you into this dark and mysterious life that you're leading?
For me, it was death. That was actually how mine and Chris's first conversation was about death and sort of.
No, it was about Children of Bodom.
Was it Children of Bodom?
Yeah, they are. They are my number 2 band, but my number 1, my gateway to metal, I didn't even like music before I discovered Iron Maiden. By far, me and Eki were talking before this, we're going to right, try not to blow smoke up bands' asses, but Iron Maiden, I regret talking about them now because I'm going to go in for the rest of this. I'm just going to be worshipping Iron Maiden, but Gateway, greatest band ever. See them live. If you don't believe me, see them live. It is.
I haven't seen them live since 1992, but
I always get this whenever we go to shows, and I remember the last show was Exodus and Death Angel that must have been February. And I've got a Slayer hoodie that I wear, and every time, without fail, I wear the Slayer hoodie. And everyone's like, I saw that band 50 times from 1985 and whatever. I saw them on the Hello Waits tour or whatever. I'm like, of course you did. Of course you did. I'm lucky to have caught them once. But
the answer to that is that's because you're an old fart and fuck off.
No, you can't. You got to chill with everyone. And
I'm not sure if I'll take. I've seen Slayer 13 times, or I'd like to be 20 again. I don't know which. I think probably the latter. I could probably cope without the. So
Slayer 50 times seems, from my position, it seems appealing. If I could see Slayer 50 times over the next 50 days.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, I never managed to organise my life or my finances enough to be quite that mad. But
just drop everything and see Slayer. That's my.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So what about the kind of your band yourself? How did you guys end up forming? How did you kind of decide that actually we're not going to, we're going to do this ourselves and we're going to get together and do this as something real?
I think this started slightly earlier on, actually. The week after I met Chris, I was playing a gig with some guys, sort of playing some punk stuff. And, afterwards, me and the drummer got talking and we decided to form a band called Kamikaze. That was our sort of start-off name. And then it started off as like a rock and roll Motorhead style band. That's sort of where it sort of began. And then over time, we brought in Mario and Chris. And they sort of, from that moment onwards, it was just straight thrash, I'd say.
Well, because, I remember me and Ekin had the same guitar teacher and we got put in contact. And then I saw about a week later, Ekin posted on whatever social media this show. And then he calls me, he goes, well, you've got this project forming. Do you want to come and play guitar? And then, So after a few weeks, we kind of go, all right, we've been dicking around in whoever's bedroom for the last how many weeks, just playing whatever. And should we have a talk about what genre we want to actually be? And as Ekin said, we had this, was it the drummer that had this kind of Motorhead song?
Yeah.
And then we were kind of like, all right, we sat down prepared to have like this giant conversation and lay it all out. And they were like, thrash. And then we kind of looked at each other and was like, yeah, thrash works. We like thrash. Who doesn't like thrash?
So there was no kind of split before you even got going and kind of major drama.
No, that was it. It was just thrash and yeah.
And what about the name? Where did that come from?
Well, when the drummer left, he because he thought of the name.
It's my name, and I'm taking it with me.
Well, he had he had that whole that was rooted in his kind of Japanese heritage and whatever. Also, it doesn't help that we kicked him out, so he was like, "Okay, can you at least let me have the name?" And then we were like, "Yeah, sure." So after a few, that's when the kind of disagreements started coming in. There was a line between kind of sounding cool and then actually meaning something. And we tried to marry the two. And we came up I think it was Mario that came up with the idea of the kind of death by sound. And he was coming up with things like phonicide or whatever. And then I thought because he actually knew the Arabic language that he knew that sort was sound, until I go on Google Translate, type in sound, and there it comes up with sort there. And I was like, well, it kind of sounds like Saw, which is, love the movie, love the, you can hack people apart with it.
And there's nothing more thrash than a slasher movie. So it kind of,
slashers, Rambo. I watch Rambo daily. I watch Rambo before I write. It helps. Commando. But yeah, so... And then,
are you sure you're not in like 1988 or something? Have you kind of jumped in the hot tub time machine and disappeared off back to...
Honestly, I have no idea. With everything that's going on, I have no idea what's going on.
It could be any year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't wish years away, but... God, I would like to have experienced it, but I don't know.
So you kind of, you ended up being really unlucky. 11th Plague was released. It was the precursor to the real plague.
Yeah, COVID is the 12th plague.
We called it.
Yeah, that's it. You kind of that was your premonition and your Nostradamus moment.
Yeah, we should call the next one a giant pile of money.
That's it. Yeah, big cash in my wallet. Yeah. So kind of, have you played any of these? Did you manage to get some shows in as you were kind of working your way up? Have you've never played together live?
They were all cancelled. We had, I remember because I wasn't expecting this to get anywhere. I wasn't expecting to be doing podcasts and whatever. I wasn't expecting anyone to listen to this. I was expecting just to kind of release it and then start working on the next one. And then we started having calls and whatever, messages sent, and someone asked us to go like to Huddersfield or Sheffield, one of the fields, and do shows with whoever and whatever. And people were saying, really like this stuff. Do you want to, we want to book you for this and this and this. And I was like, oh, you actually like this? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it. It's a part of me, but I still can't believe that it was received at all. And then everything went to shit, and all of our gig plans got cancelled. And
do you think the fact that it was picked up by people because it was what it is and you weren't ramming it down people's throats, and you know what I mean? Because you see both ends of the spectrum, don't you? You see bands at the moment, and it's really easy with social and all that stuff is, you're constantly getting beat around the head with someone's release, and you've not even heard a track yet, and they're forcing it down your throat. And it's the best thing in the world. No one's ever heard your band, man. Come on, let's go. But you were fairly. You did a bit of social, and you posted a few pictures, and posted the album art. So, but you didn't seem to hit it hard. You weren't you didn't feel like you were trying to oversell it. And I think sometimes that gets received better because it doesn't feel like you're trying to wave your own dicks in the air.
I think a lot of it came down to actually a lot of word of mouth as well. From going to gigs over the years. People knew we were playing together, and sort of they knew we can play our instruments. And I think people had known that we'd been working on this for a while, at least in London. And there was that kind of anticipation for it to come.
So, yeah, you kind of touched on it there. Obviously, you're in the kind of greater London scene, for want of a better, and, you've got other friends in there and all that sort of thing. But it kind of quickly went outside of that, didn't it? I mean, if all the other bands in London who knew about it, yeah, that's one thing. But as you say, when you're getting invited to a Sheffield or a Driftfield or some field somewhere, it suddenly projected another level that, was, I guess, a little bit unexpected.
Well, I think because we're talking about being talked about word of mouth, but that doesn't just apply to the kind of London scene, because, when bands come from all over, whatever, all over the country, all over from other countries, wherever, and you just meet them and talk to them. Or I remember talking to Landfill at Cannabis Corpse gig. He was just there, and so it kind of shows how you can be from any kind of part of the UK or whatever, and word of mouth can spread for however far. I remember one of the bigger parts in our kind of word of mouth venture and spread was Cryptic Shift from Leeds. Absolutely love them, all sweethearts, whatever. But I remember we went to one of those shows. They were actually supporting Cannabis Corpse at that first gig. That was the first gig I went to as a part of the kind of London scene. And they just started talking to me. I'm like, who am I? I'm no one. What do you want to talk to? And then we all started following each other on the socials, and then just talking. But I think Ryan, the drummer, set up our Facebook page because we're all babies. We don't know how to use Facebook. And he, all these other bands that we talked to, they're all absolutely, wonderful, and they all share us around, and we share them around. And
that's kind of, at the moment, that seems to be a really good thing. The network of bands is, is probably as good as it's ever been, and modern media has made that easier. It's easier to shout out your mates, and it's easier to share stuff and, point a link to Spotify and all that sort of thing. And do you think the scene's pretty good in the UK at the minute?
Yeah, definitely. There are a bunch of killer bands, and it's not just the bands as well. It's the kind of attitude towards promotion. I don't know what you do with UK thrash is I don't know if there's anything they do that's for death metal, for black metal, for whatever other kind of metal. But this kind of promotion of loads of bands that you can follow whatever thrash album a day page on Instagram where they just post albums and albums. And, you know, I follow a few of them, and that's how I get new music. That's how I figured out, that's how I found out about God knows whatever bands. One band I've been listening to, Schizophrenia from Belgium. They're absolutely fucking insane. And I found out about them from one of those pages. What's another one? The new wave of old school thrash metal on YouTube. So I found out about Annexation, and they're another fucking killer band. So there's loads and loads and loads and loads of ways to find out about whoever.
I think it's important to say as well, like, there was a lot of kind people actually who helped out with, you know, getting this out there. You know, you mentioned Cryptic Shift. They've been a massive, massive help with, you know, spreading it around.
Honestly, we probably wouldn't be anywhere without them.
Even with his wraparound shades, Ryan still knew what was going on.
Yeah. Oh God. I even bought my sunglasses for the post. You know, I can look like Gene Hoglan. These are my tough guy sunglasses. I put them on whenever I want to write riffs. Do a couple pull-ups.
Brilliant.
Tough, hold a Nerf gun.
So kind of going back to the album. How did you record? Were you know, was it you home studioing? You kind of all kind of sharing links, or are you recording in the studio? You mentioned the drums. Did you just, you know, cool drum program a lot of it, or did you actually beat some skin?
No, I was on the skins for that one. I borrowed the cymbals from a friend. I play in a dad rock cover band, which is about the most fun I think I've ever had in my life. And so I just asked to borrow the drummer's cymbals, and we kind of have our Google Drive thing, and we have a bunch of songs. And one day we figured because I was going to uni, I was going to my first year, so I was going to be moving away. And then Ekin was in the last year of his A-levels, and then Mario had started his A-levels. So we thought, okay, we're going to be pretty heavy with kind of work for the next few years. So we should have something to put out so people don't actually forget us, forget who we are. And then we kind of rushed it, and well, not rushed it, but we kind of figured,
we were in a weird predicament where we had no drummer and no vocalist.
Yeah.
So and then,
we're kind of like, we'll do this song, this song, this song, this song, this song. They'll be in this order. And so we were like, right, we've got to record them. So I think, how did we get that? We had this like amp modeler because we figured we couldn't, we don't know. Well, we had studios that we knew, but we were stingy and we didn't really want to spend that much money. Plus I was also about to shell out 30 grand to kind of put me through school, which, you know, is lifelong debt. But so we had an amp modeler, and we tried recording at home. Yeah, Ekin took it from his college with permission. And then I don't know what was happening. We think we were going to try and get a session drummer.
Yeah, that was the plan.
And then
sort of went through a few and just really couldn't find anyone.
Yeah, they're all either busy. I think one said yeah, and then was also busy at the time. So I was like, okay, I play drums.
Just give it here.
Yeah, you know, how hard can it be? I wrote some of them. You know, and back then I used to play along to them anyway, just to practice chops and stuff. And I still go back and play them sometimes on drums. So I figured we'll book a day and see how it goes. And we finished them all in a day. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but and
so then, you tracked all drum tracks in that 1 day session.
Yeah, it was. Oh no, it was in the middle of summer of like 2019, and bring my pedals and the cymbals to the studio every day. It was funny because that was the week where the bus, there was some roadworks on one of the roads, and the bus diverted earlier. So I had to get out an early stop and drag the pedals and the cymbals in the heat to the studio, like half an hour walk, and that was I was sweating before I even got into the studio. And then I don't know, there's something that clicks when you go into the studio. I don't know if it's nerves or or the kind of songs, or just the fact that you're in a studio and you watch thousands of YouTube videos, what to do when you first go into the studio or whatever, studio tricks or whatever. And I don't know, something just hit, because I know it hit Ekin the day after, because we finished the drums for all 6 tracks. And then we were like, right, well, I guess we're doing vocals the next day.
So how come you ended up kind of, if you didn't have a vocalist, how come it was like everyone looked at each other until someone kind of blinked and then you were it?
We sort of sat there in silence and I just belted out this Angel of Death scream and we were like, yeah, that's it.
That's it.
It's your job.
You got it.
But yeah, that was actually my first sort of time properly doing vocals. Before then,
no, that was your first time.
Yeah, that was the first time. So it was kind of like a shot in the dark to see if it was going to be any good or not. And like,
yeah, I know from my perspective, when you said I'll sing, and then Jake, the guy who runs the studio, would turn around and was like, Jake. Right, tomorrow you come in and you sing. And I kind of saw your eyes just go, wait.
Oh, fuck. At least wanted to practice in the shower for a couple of weeks first.
He went into the next studio and into the next practice room and started, singing and screaming and whatever. It looked like you were really shitting yourself.
Yeah, man.
And then the next day, tracking vocals, he did them all in a day. And that was the day Mario went to get his bass set up at the shop, and he texted, all right, I'll be there in about half an hour. I'm getting the bus. And he got there and it was like, it was too late. You missed it. He's done.
So obviously, as the guitarist, you've now, you picked up vocals as well. Is that, you don't have to put it to the test yet and actually do both at the same time. Have you been practicing?
It's been a real journey actually sorting that out. It's like I've had to completely change the way I play in a metal context. It's like, it's been a real learning curve, but I think we're there now. I definitely think we're there.
Yeah, and was that purely? I know, I don't do either, or not properly anyway. So, was that all about learning when you can breathe and things like that? And kind of, I guess it's the old drummers patting your head and rubbing your stomach sort of thing,
exactly
but
to be honest,
a whole new level.
Because I've been playing guitar for years, like since I was about 8. So guitar was like something that was just natural at that point, and it was like, just being able to do the 2 at the same time was being a real pain in rehearsals. But it's sort of like same way I went about practicing guitar, I've just gone about practicing that as well. And it's like slowly just getting better,
Yeah. And I guess again, in some ways you were lucky. You've kind of been lucky. Is the fact that you haven't had it shoved to having a shitload of gigs to try and, because you'd be on kill or cure at that point. So are you lead or rhythm?
But we don't usually split it between lead players, because we both have our favorite guitarists, whatever, and some of them do lead, and some of them do rhythm.
Right.
One song, someone comes up with more riffs, someone does more leads, but we don't tend to split it between one person's lead, one person's rhythm. You do all the solos, you do all the riffs.
I suppose it comes down to both our playing styles being really different as well. It's like there's definitely space for leads from both of us and more rhythm heavy parts from both of us.
Yeah. And does that allow you, with the singing side, does that allow you to go, actually, Chris, you're going to have to do a little bit, you're going to have to take some heavy lifting here because I'm going to have to simplify this because there's no way I'm playing that and getting anything out of the gob at the same time.
Yeah, that's something I've been really kind of conscious about writing as well, because it's hard to write, there's one thing writing lyrics for someone else to sing, but there's another thing writing lyrics that you want someone to sing and play at the same. So you've got to be conscious about the riff that you write.
Fuck off! You're sat there going, right, I can make this really fucking hard here, and then I can do a kind of full-on Tom Araya scream over the top of it, and that's going to fuck him up completely.
No, if he gets to one point where he pisses me off enough, I'll be like, right, I've got these riffs, and they are impossible to sing over. I'm going to put loads of words over them.
That's it. Revenge.
Well,
you already did that. If it bleeds.
Okay. I remember when that song was written, there was some like, I was like, God, whoever's singing this is going to get fucked up. And then it turns out a few weeks later,
singing it and playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, exactly. Because I guess when you wrote it originally, that wasn't the concept. You were going to get someone else in who'd be probably vocals only. So you never wrote with, now you have that in the back of your mind, whereas then it was like, well, it'll just be some lunatic roaming around the stage with nothing but a mic.
Yeah, well, I think because we all play we play guitar, bass. I play drums. I know Ekin's got a bass, and Mario plays bass, guitar, and I think he actually joined the band as the drummer, which would have been
he did definitely.
Interesting, because I don't think I've ever seen him play the drums.
I don't think he does play drums. I think he was sort of just...
Well, that's kind of weird. We hired a drummer that doesn't play drums.
What haven't you got? I'm doing that. Yeah.
but and then I know George plays guitar as well, and he's even sending over riffs and stuff. So I think because we all kind of play all these, we all kind of play instruments, and we could all kind of interchange them. That has affected writing as well. And if we're conscious about what it feels like to play these other instruments, we can kind of say, okay, maybe this would actually be kind of unrealistic to play. With me, when I write drum parts, I don't write anything that I can't play, which is why I'm not really a big fan of getting packs of things you can download with like beats that you can use.
Yeah.
And then same thing about riffs. I don't usually copy riffs that I can't play. If I copy riffs that I can't play, I'll not play them right and make them my own. But
yeah,
you kind of had these benchmarks that you have to kind of meet, being conscious of all these instruments and their capabilities.
It sounds from that your kind of songwriting process is fairly communal. Do you kind of are you kind of all equal contributors, and then I take it your main lyricist though, Chris?
Well, I put forth lyrics to one. I did the lyrics to Buried Alive, which I don't know. I think I was listening to a lot of Death, but the more progressive kind of Death, individual thought patterns and stuff. So it's that one. I think my lyrical style is a bit more kind of metaphor based. I'm into the whole poetry thing. I read poems and whatever, and I'm quite into literature. Whereas when I put forth the lyrics to We Came to Kill, and that was only the working title that I had, I put forth some lyrics to that, and they were kind of like, they were met with a bit of criticism. And then, so I think Ekin put the lyrics to that, which I think ironically is the hardest one to sing and play.
Yeah.
Actually, if we're going by the main lyricist that has done the most lyrics, that would be Mario then. I think Mario did.
He did If It Bleeds.
And If It Bleeds. So that will make Mario the main vocal lyricist.
But again, pretty much a communal thing that everyone puts their own bits into it. And do you think that helps with, because your album hangs together like an album. It's you guys all the way through, but it takes you on a little bit of a journey. And do you think by having everyone having that kind of creative input helps keep that fresh?
Definitely, because we were sort of worried about the tracks not really piecing together very well when we were writing it at the time.
Well, that's why we changed. That's why we changed Nah. The original version of that one had a way different drum track, and we kind of thought, okay, we need a slow kind of one to mark that point in the album, because one thing listening to a lot of and kind of really analyzing albums that we listen to, you can have albums of all singles where they're all kind of attempts at a chart position or whatever, an attempt to be that kind of one standout track that gets attention, and they all end up being clones. Yeah, they can be good songs, but it's an album of singles really. And then you can have albums of all good songs where there's variety of them being fast, slow, long, short, heavy, soft, whatever. But then it really comes down to the way in which they're ordered, which is what we really tried to pay attention to. Because if you're not if you've got it on in the background and you're not paying attention that much, you need that kind of, this is an inherently fast song, this is an inherently slow song, and to kind of have that, to kind of break it up a little bit.
That differentiation between the different tracks.
Because if you stick all the fast ones and then all the stuff, it just sounds like white noise, and it's just a bit of a riff salad. So
I'm surprised. I'm kind of surprised that it's one of those things, and I guess it's a generational thing again. I mean, I always look, when I review or when I listen to music, I look at albums, and albums is, front to back.
Yeah.
But obviously a lot of music these days is received in a completely different way. It pops up in shuffle. It's, Spotify wangs you off to something out. Do you worry about that, or are you focused on this is an album and it's a piece of work in its entirety and it needs to, it sounds like that's the way you went, but
that's kind of the way that I can only speak for me personally. That's the way I think about it, especially, I've got all my metal flags and whatever and my Demolition Hammer shirt, but I listen to a lot of, dare I say, commercial music, and I'm not going to go too far into this, but I can see
he's using thrash points all over the place. Ding, 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 ding.
No, I try and listen to I don't try and listen to whatever. That's another thing. I don't make an effort to listen to. If something catches my ear, I'll just listen to it regardless. Who am I to explain why I like something or not? If I like it, I like it. I'm not going to be a pussy. I'm going to listen to it, and that's me. I listen to it loud. But being a fan of some really commercial artists, that you can see these albums that are all attempts to get in charts, and it's a good, if it's a good song and it's written all over again, you've got an album of good songs. But then if you're trying to listen to it, if I go on my walk or whatever and it's just being beaten over the head by the same song over and over and over again, it's good, but it's got it's not really a collation of really different emotions, really. When you get into the nitty gritty of kind of picking apart your favorite songs and your favorite albums, that you kind of see them in a completely different way.
This is Tyler from Blacklist, and you are listening to the UK Thrashers radio show.
11th Plague's been out kind of just over a year. I'm sure you'd like to play some of the songs live on it, but what's the what's the reality? Are you recording new music? Are you have you got more stuff in the bag? You can do like an EP to keep to pop yourselves back up again, or what's the plan?
We've got a lot of stuff in the bag. The thing is, we've got a lot of stuff going back to 2018, 2019, whatever. And when I go and listen to it, I can hear how it's kind of evolved. Now we've got our eye on me and Ekin have looked over about 4 or so tracks, and we put lyrics to them. If we're going back to the kind of main lyricist point, I think I've written a fair amount of lyrics to the riffs that I've written now. But we've got a few tracks that are at least more developed than others. Whether or not that translates to a demo or another EP, whether we can get time in a studio or whatever, whether it's even open, I don't know. I know George is pretty good friends with the person that owns the studio that we go to now. But we have new riffs, we have new music. Whether at what stage it's in is kind of questionable, but there is. And again,
does that depend on when you all get back together properly as well, and when you can be in the rehearsal space together, that it all gets ripped back up again anyway? It's like it sounded great when you drop me a file, but when you're all together, it doesn't work.
Well, we need to actually see if we can play it together. I know I can play the riffs, and I can play. It's again, another thing is singing in isolation or singing and playing it. I know there's one track that is going to be, it's one I haven't shared actually, and that is going to be immensely hard to sit. That is Dark Angel up the butt. That's like 1 million words a minute.
That's where the guitar gets slung on your back for this. So for this next track, you're a single guitarist.
You can't sling it on your back because it's 10.5 minutes long.
Oh, blue.
And I've cut it down.
This is what happens when you hang around with Ryan and Cryptic Shift too much. Next thing it'll be a 25-minute enchiladas of the outer space. Those.
No, we share a mutual love of Dark Angel, and even going before that, I've always been a fan of that kind of epic, that epic style of metal. I'm Iron Maiden fan.
Yeah. So everything has to be. We're doing an Iron Maiden track a day thing at the moment. So we've got it feels like about 3 years of Iron Maiden a day, and it's kind of, it feels, when you listen to a Maiden track, it always feels like they're trying to make it. It's not watching Coronation Street. It's watching like the grand event, and it's like you don't have to fucking do it on every track. Not every track has to be a dun dun dun. And it's like,
I don't know. I think the way some people approach songwriting, and there are definitely bands that say, okay, I want to be epic, and this song has to be 10 minutes or whatever. But I don't think that's the case with them. I can't imagine any Iron Maiden song, and call me a plastic fan or whatever, even Angel and the Gambler. I can't really think of anything that I'd want to take out. I think the songs that do go over to those extreme lengths go to that length because they need to, whether it be they develop in a certain way riff-wise, or whether you've just got more to say. I know that's the reason why I've written this kind of epic song, because
you can't say it in 4 minutes.
Yeah, essentially, I've got 3 pages of lyrics, and I can't imagine taking any of them out because the subject has touched me so that I feel like these need to be the lyrics, and this is how I get the whole story across. So that's really, it's not a fact that we're dragging it out, or not. By no means are we going to be one of those bands that releases only 7.5 minute songs, whatever. A song unfolds, and if it needs to be a certain length, then it needs to be a certain length. And
so be it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that was the case on the 11th Plague. They're all pretty differing in their lengths and structure and kind of what their purpose is individually. You've got Pareidolia, but then you've also got If It Bleeds. They couldn't be more different in their structure or what they aim to do.
Yeah, but as you said before, that's kind of what makes the album interesting. Is you're not. And here's another 8-minute, prog masterpiece. You get those kind of short, sharp shocks in between. In between those more, orchestral, epic tracks.
Well, if something needs to be, if something warrants, that kind of epic feel, then that's fine. Certain topics lend themselves to, that shorter, kick in the nuts. It's just completely different feel, which is really good for breaking up. It's just a collation of different kind of moods.
Earlier on, you spoke about kind of the London scene and kind of all the other bands. Who are the bands in the London scene that are kind of, I'll use the word making a lot of noise in a kind of metaphorical way, but who are the kind of bands that you're looking at the minute and thinking, these are the guys that are, this isn't just another London band playing a Sunday afternoon in the pub. These guys are going to, maybe break out of this a little bit.
Well, there's certain bands that I look at, and maybe not in terms of breaking out and getting huge or whatever, but there are certain bands where I see that kind of dynamic, and I think that is just admirable. I know one of them is a band called ATVM, and they don't play commercial music by any standard, but you see their kind of Black Death kind of epic feel, and you just see the way that those guys, they're all so closely knit and they're all friends, and it's just it's really nice to watch, because that kind of dynamic means that they'll be around for a while. I know they're coming up on a full length as of recording this, but again, Sufferer, I think another Black Death. You got to hand it to them. There's certain bands. I know Cam and Kyle are just absolutely, they're just together. They're just two peas in a pod, two cannibal midgets in a fat guy's rib cage. And whether or not they go far or not, it's just you got to look at the dynamic, and it's just so.
Yeah,
you got to see that that's how far they'll go.
I'm not, when I say go far, I don't mean they're the next AC/DC. I just mean that they're the band that people around in the underground are just going to be talking about around the country, and that and that's as if anyone breaks out of that, it's really nice. But at the end of the day, kind of that's the music that most of us listen to, and it's those bands, and even the bands that are just out the underground aren't that far out of it. Your Memoriams and your the thrashers like Shrapnel and that, although they're not underground the way they were. They're not living the rock star life. They've all still got real jobs and all that other stuff that goes with it.
Yeah. Well, Shrapnel, another one. You had to mention Shrapnel, and God, I love Shrapnel. It's just their new album is their last album. Is it new anymore? Yeah, but their newest album is.
They're recording again, aren't they? I think I saw something the other day. They're in the works with the next one, so they're not.
I'm ready. And we got.
Have you done your Have you done your mace for Aaron? Aaron messaged me, and so they're trying to do their own video. They want all the crowd to do this mace thing that they've got going on.
If Shrapnel asked me to do something, you bet I'm going to do it.
It's for all fans. The link, get it. Send them a video. 30 seconds of swinging your arm around. I was knackered. I'm not pit fit at all. This is awful.
That's going to be another thing. That first pit, when everyone gets back.
Yeah. A load of wheezy old men that have just sat in their shed drinking beer for the last 12 months.
And then the guys that are clawing at the door, and they just want to get out. I know some people, I'm not going to name names, but some people are ready to go absolutely mental. And hopefully if we can get on one of those shows, God help whoever is on the receiving end of that elbow or that knee or whatever.
So what about out of London? Obviously, being part of the capital city, you're probably in the best position with regards to kind of new music and venues and stuff like that. What about the rest of the country? Where do you see kind of bands popping up that you think, they've got quite a cool scene that I wouldn't mind, go and check it out and go and play out?
Well, we're going to have to mention Cryptic Shift again.
Yeah, I was going to say you're going to have to go to Boom and play in Leeds.
Leeds with Slime Lord as well. I know that is basically Cryptic Shift.
I was going to say double duties for Riot.
Yeah, and then there are actually a bunch of older kind of bands that have broken up. I know I think they're from Liverpool. It's a thrash band called Bloodbearer.
Yeah.
And that little EP that they put out was that's killer. Again, this is London, but I don't know what's going on with them, but Separation are.
I think they had a gig planned for.
I think they were doing a festival. They were doing a festival with Cryptic, so that's going to be double duty for Joss because he went into Cryptic Shift. But Separation, another killer band. Umberia, I was a real fan of Umberia, and then
Ben and Rob are really struggling with everything. They're down to just those two now. So you got a drummer and a guitarist.
I know
the guitarist doesn't want to do vocals anymore, so he's fucking his voice up.
I'm not gonna. Well, I don't want to reveal anything. And I don't know if there anything is to reveal, but I'm gonna keep my mouth shut and just say nothing because that might not be the case.
Okay, he does keep. I don't know. It's Rob. You can tell every time he has a bad. It's Ben. Every time Ben has a bad gig, he fucking next day it's like vocalist wanted.
Yeah, every other week, I'm convincing them. Have you written anything new yet? Yet?
No, exactly. Well, Liam from Hellfector was like, "Do you think the Umberia boys would want to move to Stoke-on-Trent and join Hellfector?" Because
I think they're looking for a drummer now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, because they're on. I said, wait, you want a second guitarist and you want a drummer. You just need to. It's only 3 hours up the motorway to practice. Stop fucking about. Get on with it.
That's what I was saying. I was telling Ben, I was like, don't make me come up there and sing for you because you don't want to hear that.
But actually, in reality, all joking aside, it's easier now to be bands hundreds of miles away. I had. A lot of the older bands that have come back, I had Trapped in Purgatory on the other week who, come back after a 30-year break. John, he's living in Germany. He's recording his bass lines in his spare bedroom in Germany. So, the kind of ability these days not to have to be, every Tuesday at band practice or whatever it is.
I think it definitely changes the way you work, all of us in the band, we all live 10 minutes, 20 minutes away from each other.
Basically, yeah.
A lot of what we do actually is based over email and, sending over the files. It's only really when we're physically in the studio on in this case, 2 days, that we actually need to be together. A lot of it can be done over long distance.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can, I guess it works both ways. If you're an old band that's knows each other really well, that's fine because you've already got that relationship. But when you're a young band, you guys, you need to spend a bit of time with each other, because if you ever get out on tour and you don't know each other very well, you'll end up fucking, you need to know that kind of Chris snores and you don't want to sleep anywhere near him in the fucking burst, or, all that sort of, he's a fucking, he's a knob when he's had more than 3 pints, or, all those sorts of things, and that band interaction is still really important. I think, especially when you're a young band.
Yeah, because that's one thing that we tried to really kind of sort out. Aside from practice, we made sure that there were days that we just go and hang out, because if you can be bandmates and whatever, but if you're not friends, then it's kind of just a work thing. And we all get along and we'll do whatever. And I remember there was one day where me and Ekin went up to the park and smashed my old guitar in the woods and whatever.
That's not a euphemism, is it?
No. We literally, that was I think it was my first acoustic guitar. I tried painting on it. It didn't go too well. So we went to get chips from the chippy or something, walked in with this mess of a guitar, and it was 2 chips to go, please. And then we just went and fucking started smashing it against trees in the smashing the guitar against trees. That's not a.
So, kind of coming towards the end. What about? We kind of discussed the social side of it. How do people who still haven't heard it? How do they get on? You still got physical copies left? Can you buy on Bandcamp? What's the kind of current situation with 11?
Yeah, you can still buy it on Bandcamp. I think it's up for however much you want to pay. Yeah. So if you want to grab it for a couple p, then whatever. We didn't end up making physical copies because we never thought anyone would buy any. We were talking to people who were willing to promote physical copies and whatever, but with the whole state of everything, that's just gone haywire. So
we're planning on getting to it at some point, but it's just sort of when.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a reissue, even if it's in a cardboard sleeve to keep costs down and save the environment and all that other hippie shit. It'd be quite nice to. It's always nice to have it for yourselves as much as anything. It's nice to have that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a bit more tangible, isn't it?
Yeah, if we do reissue, we will try and put some other stuff, whether it be kind of track commentary or new demos, or because that's the ultimate thing that's ultimately the new thing we're working on. If anything else comes out, expect something new music-wise from it. More riffs, more beats, more screaming, and whether that be with the old songs or new ones. Or so,
where else can we find you? Sawticide everywhere, I guess, isn't it? At Sawticide on
iTunes, everywhere you want.
Yeah, all the socials.
And all the socials, basically. Cool.
Yep.
Finally, shout outs, thanks. Anything else you want to throw out there?
I want to thank my parents for always believing in me. I'm accepting I'll accept it. That's my.
They're not charging me rent now. I'm back at uni.
Yeah, no. Well, this is the moment I've been preparing for. Accepting my shampoo bottle award in the shower.
Shout out to Jake from Satellite Studios for
everyone at Satellite. Jake, Cam,
giving us that studio time, helping us out.
So shout out Cryptic Shift again because
just the whole band.
Yeah. Oh god, shout out Gene Hogan, shout out Dark Angel.
He's a regular listener.
If he hears this miraculously, please release another album, please. It's been 30 years. It's been too long.
It keeps coming up, doesn't it? It's in the most anticipated albums of 2021 list again, but it's been in the 20 list, the 19 list. Yeah, you keep hearing the rumours.
Every night I lay awake in pools of sweat, wondering what it could sound like.
Hey, let's hope it doesn't disappoint when he finally gets round to it.
I'll force myself to like it.
Yeah, I don't care how shit it is. I take it you'll be choosing that on the review list when it pops in.
Oh yeah, I'm claiming it. Yeah, that's mine. I'll pee around it in a circle. I'll mark that as my territory. It's mine.
Brilliant. Guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks again for supporting Moshing the Roof On. Hopefully next year we can have a new track.
We want that more than anything. And a live show as well.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll take it. We'll take it on the road. No, seriously, thanks for all the support.
Sweet.
Good luck going forward, and see you. Hopefully, see you in a mosh pit very soon.
Yeah, I'll see you in the pits.
This is Tim from Damnation's Hammer. You're listening to the UK Thrashers podcast. Oh yeah.
Thanks to Sawticide for joining us in the studio. This is a track from 11th Plague. This is Buried Alive. Had enough yet? Of course you haven't. We're still thrashing our way through the episodes. Let's get on with some more music. This is State of Anxiety and The Hammer. Okay, that's it. It's time to wrap up this episode. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Sawticide for joining us in the studio. As always, a massive thank you to all the bands that let's use their music to keep this show fucking thrashing. All of you people who've bought Mosh in the Roof on, we are only a couple of weeks away now from release. Thanks for the support. You really are changing lives. We are helping people get out of some of the shit that they really have to deal with. So a massive heartfelt thanks from me for that. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Let's finish off with another London band. This is Bangover, and this is No Prisoners.
deserts I came, bastard son of an English lord. The world at war, no country spared. The silent poet must become a warrior. Revolt in the desert began in June. A secret mission to aid the prince, to Abultayer, the brigand for gold. With an army and my call into the Medford we rode. The sun's anvil, the city ahead. The promise of death on the steering sands. Justice served on the man I saved. I gave him life and now I'll take it away. And to the oasis, forward we ride. Victory in a cover shall be mine. The Ottomans shall taste defeat at the hands of Lawrence of Arabia. Seven pillars of wisdom in the east of battle forgotten. A new dream of Arabia, nothing is written. No prisoners under burning sun's desert skies. Arabia shall rise. No prisoners under burning sun's desert skies. Arabia shall rise. Arabia shall rise. The gold in a cover, the spell undone. My word is my honor, it must be done. Across the Sinai, where Moses walked, words ringing in my ear of guerrilla war. Bedouins and gods, blood on the sands. Only a golden bullet can end this man. The desert's a sea in which the war is dipped, and on this ocean we strike where we please. Loyal to England and to other things. The Tapas massacre heavy in our hearts. The Ottoman line retreating ahead. A soul man rides blinded by revenge. His shattered corpse embraces the ground. The call to attack rising like a storm. No prisoners this day, mercy be damned. Only death is written on the flaming sands. Seven pillars of wisdom in the east of battle forgotten. A new dream of Arabia, nothing is written. No prisoners under burning sun's desert skies. Arabia shall rise. No prisoners under burning sun's desert skies. Arabia shall rise. Arabia shall rise. No prisoners under burning sun's desert skies. Arabia shall rise. No prisoners